Hi everybody, it's Victor here from Trend Following Trading for Beginners, and here's this week's weekly update on my sample trading portfolio. Coming up next. This week's update is a bit different because there's quite a bit of indexes and also currency movement. So I'm just going through, blast it through a little bit first. Basically for me, because of my Asian background, I'm more interested in Asia as well. But I'm also index guy, so I look at both indexes in across the pond in UK, as well as Europe and America and China and Hong Kong. I'm not into China much yet, but mainly on the Hong Kong index because I was born there. What we found this week is quite interesting. First of all, we have the ongoing trade talks between China and US, and then people say, okay, well, there is some sort of what you call a agreement. I mean, Donald Trump actually go on TV and just say, okay, shake hand in the China, people from China to basically say, they say agreement, and China is going to buy more agricultural products. But they talk about $40-50 billion worth of products, but when is it going to happen? Nobody says anything. I mean, Chinese have been quite quiet about that. Now they're arguing to say that there was an agreement to repurchase certain amount or go on to honor the agreement. There will be a simultaneous reduction in the tariff. And Donald Trump comes out and says, we will not go roll it back. And so there's this argument thing. But while this is going on, you see a lot of market is driven by news. So what they call buy the news, sell the facts. And the news is that the US indexes have been driven up and up and up and up. And as if like Christmas rally came early. Everybody has been trading on the hope of the possible trade talks, some sort of agreement. But this agreement, remember, is phase one. All they're actually saying is there's certain purchases that China's got to buy from US, which I've always said they will. And then there's some sort of structural reforms, agreement, or protection IPs, which are the sticky points, and I don't think those ones are going to be sorted out very quickly. But the main thing, phase one, is more like just getting a lot of the easy part out of the way first and get it signed. But even that is not signed at the moment, or it's not what you call signal, and there's some sort of signing ceremony going up in the end of the month or December or something, or anything close to that, because China wants some tariffs, some of the tariffs that have been put on the product to be at least taken off the table first. Probably not all of it. And the problem I've seen here is U.S. has been using tariffs against all sorts of countries, not just U.S., against North Korea, particularly because of the missile firing tests and so forth, and also mainly now is Iran. Because he doesn't like the U.S. government doesn't like the Iran deal that President Obama signed, and Donald Trump basically just say, I don't want it, broke the agreement, and then they have the sanction on Iran, and all the time people will say, there might be talks and stuff, and between the two countries, Iran and U.S. possible to talk, but then there's always the trades tariffs always stays on no matter what's going on, and they particularly highlight this particularly quite strongly in the relationship between U.S. and North Korea. North Korea always say we will stop all this stuff, testing whatever. American had to ease some sanction, but American didn't do anything. All they have just shaking hands with between the two leaders from two different countries. But has a tariff come off? Had any sanction restriction come off? No. Everything, or not tariff, but a restriction to North Korea. So the similar action, I think, will happen in America as well. Especially the fact that both houses this is what the noises we hear in Asia as well as in UK, that what really unites the American government, both Democrats and Republicans, is that they don't like, for some reason, just don't like communists. Now we're coming up from a fresh, from outsider point of view, and now the communists, the biggest communist left. It's Russia or it's China. So now they're basically fighting China, and China's always been there, and they want to beat communism, whatever. But why Chinese particularly got basically got hit by this time by America is because China's rising dominance. America want to be a number one boy all the time. China's come out to say, no, I'm challenging your number one status. I mean, the Japanese did it, tried to do it in the 80s, and they're falling apart, And the Russians tried it, in the 90s and so forth, and it really didn't happen. Now it's the Chinese coming over. And the problem is China has, as far as I'm concerned, from outsider, I'm okay being Chinese, or maybe you say I'm biased, but I think one thing that people don't talk about is all this rhetoric between the two countries. One thing people forget: Chinese have two things that I think American doesn't have. Personally, because Chinese have suffered so many humiliation in the last 100 years. The armies allies go into China. Burned down part of the Forbidden Gardens. Stole a lot of their treasures. And put it in the museum in UK as well as in America and also in Europe and sort of things. And okay, that's history. But China has been, also through the Second World War as well, has suffered a lot in the last 100 years. And one thing they know is they used to, even though it's very bad for them, they used to suffer long term. Loss of life is part of so it's part of the history, so to speak. So long as Chinese is still around, Chinese government still around, they'll rise up again. So that's one thing. So the pain point is the Chinese can take a lot more pain than American, as far as I'm concerned. Second is, it's very much like what the American had taught the world is after the Second World War, with the explosion of the baby boomers. Everybody after Second World War in Europe, in Asia, is more or less ruined, and America as a country is more or less intact, and it's basically selling things to help rebuild the world, so to speak, and make a lot of money. But also at the same time, is baby boomers coming up. They have a lot of babies, education requirements, holidays, and so forth, entertainment, everything else. So because it's basically demography I'm talking about. And because of this big lump of generation, the baby boom generation, of this needs of buying things from other places. So there's a lot of things being shipped into America, and the American boom as well as Asia and Europe will recover overall. But you put a similar context to India as well as in China, they don't have baby boom, but their middle class is big. Is basically much bigger than in the rest of America, and you can actually see that what history has been gone through in the 50s, 80s, and 90s in America is basically going through in India as well as in China. So the Chinese have a lot more consumerism over there. A lot of people buying things around the world, as well as for internal usage as well as for external. And these are the type of things that it's got to drive the market overall in Asia and around the world. And basically, all of that is everybody want to trade with China. So if you really want to trade with China, what at the end of the day is you still want the market to be open. So what does American really want? Is it just wants to stop Chinese challenging them to be number one boys, number one sport, or they just want to trade? Remember, global trade was established more champion by the Europeans, mainly by America. And now Americans think, or the government think, well, it's not working for us, therefore, we want to put the whole thing on its head, turn upside down. But the genie's out of the box, so to speak, and it won't go back in. And now the Americans have to think, especially the government, whatever they said, do they just want trade, or do they want to stop Chinese coming up to be dominant in the world. And both sides, Democrat and Republican, is agree now to say, okay, more or less agree to say, go against China with tariffs, whatever it is. And, they got Donald Trump's doing the front work for them, so to speak. But if back to the tariffs thing, if China want the tariffs be reduced or removed, I think they will have a tough time asking American for that, because American government is not going to give that, as far as I'm concerned. Even the reduction or the seen to reduce in tariffs without getting some significant things given back by the Chinese is going to be, I guess, like a stamping down, backing down by the American side. So so that's why when the Chinese have said, we're going to buy more products, that's fine, but we ask at the same time to have a reduction in tariffs. In America, Donald Trump took quite some time to say something. I think it was Thursday or Friday to say, okay, the Chinese really wanted to have the tariffs rolled back, but we are not going to roll all of them back. It's hinting that there will be some rollback, but why is it such a delay? Because I think there is a lot of pushback by the U.S. government. So given this backdrop, the pushback of the tariffs by the U.S. government, given the backdrop, I don't really see, just personal point of view, that we're going to sign something very quickly. And the market basically used the news to say the possible signing of the tariff to push everything up. So now I personally just feel it's rather dangerous to invest in the American market. The problem here is everything have gone up so much due to the the possible signing of the tariff of the agreement. Everything gone up. The index gone up. A lot of shares gone up. But like staples of like McDonald's, which it has a lot of outlets around the world, and is like in my last episode say it's below 250 days moving average. And then last week we have the one of the CEO was having a relationship with one of his employees. Okay, that's American way of working things. Okay, you're not supposed to have a relationship with the same company or something. But that aside, even that had made the price of the McDonald's price drop down quite a bit. But even that aside, the McDonald's price has been coming down, even though all the others stock indices in America is going up. To me, it basically is telling me that the overall there's a slowdown across the world on American products, taking American food. Hamburgers has been around for a long time. McDonald's is basically the signpost, to say how great American food are, so to speak, so it's KFC and stuff. But if McDonald's is coming down, and it's, for me anyway, from what I see, it's more like a leading indicator of the overall indexes of the overall market in America. I think there is a possibility of quite some sort of retracement of the move, so to speak, some sort of reaction instead of going up all the time. Some things probably come down soon. So given that is my backdrop, but that is just my opinion. But if you put it back on a trend following sense, you don't really care. The trend, the market is going up. You just follow. So this is one of the things that's quite difficult for sometimes for people, for me as well. Previously, even now, I still have to keep my emotion in check, or my fundamental views of the market in check, because the market is telling us it's going up. I don't care. Even though McDonald's going down, maybe a leading indicator. I don't care. Don't want to know. And so the markets continue going up. And then on the similar front, this week, if you look at the crude oil, it's been trying to break above the last couple of weeks, about 200 days, 50-day moving average, but it's more like a range-bound sideways trade again. Crude oil being crude oil, it's been used across the world. If around the world people are making money, the economy is healthy, crude oil will go up. But what they're actually saying is the crude oil movement, to me anyway, is more like might be some sort of stagnation maybe because due to the Chinese and US trade war, but also I think it's a growth across the world, that everything is slowing down. So the use of crude oil is not, is significantly reduced. I mean, even President Donald Trump, as we say, I think last week or something, they say they're putting putting back the 1,000 U.S. troops back in Syria, but this time to safeguard the oil. I mean, even that's on the news on the oil doesn't really move the oil market too much. And to me anyway, on this is a very dangerous thing, because basically America is, I think a lot of people talked about already on the news, that America basically say around the world, well, I can just take whatever your stuff whenever I like, and other people's and other countries' oil whenever they like. Just this very similar to what other countries have done to China. While China was weak, it comes into China and try to break it up, try to take things. And similar things now. Syria is weak, and America try to take Syrian oil and other countries' oil. We basically say, okay, I will look after it and do some deal with whatever American oil companies, ships oil out of Syria. But the oil belongs to the Syrian people, the Syrian government. Doesn't matter if there's civil war, whatever going on, it belongs to the Syrians. Well, I don't know how America can say it, they can take the oil. But even with this news coming around, the oil price is not moving up too much. So there's quite a lot of anomalies going around. And one thing for me personally is, what does that mean when it's trading with all these things going on in the background? So for me as a trend follower, I don't really trade. I don't trade news at all. I just trade the market, what the price is telling me. The price is telling me, well, basically the emotion of the market is telling me everything's going up, everything is fine. They just don't want to look at all the problems, the fundamental problems around the world is having. And basically it's going up and up. And my fundamental view is basically being beaten down. And my emotion, basically I have to keep my emotion in check to say, okay, what am I doing here? I'm here to follow the trend, follow the price. The price is going up, I don't care, so go up. And that, I think this is something that I want to bring forward in this particular episode, is that for trend following, you trade the price. You hear the trade system. Doesn't matter what method you use. There may be other news or your beliefs or your understanding of the market should do certain things a certain way. The market may not do exactly what you want to do. It's very much like a runaway train. Don't stand in front of it. If the train wants to go one way, get along with it. Make some money while it's moving madly in the wrong direction. Okay, when the market turns up to, let's say, I don't know, reduction of 10%, whatever the rules are used from its previous high, get out. Okay, or even up reduction of 20%, get out after the peak. So to speak, then this is what trend following is about. So basically, this update this week basically is more like just a lot of rant for me as well, but also about my fundamental views against what the market is telling us, that we actually trading emotion. The emotion of the market they seem to ignore a lot of things, and Americans seems or American indexes are all going up, and that's also affecting American U.S. dollars index as well. It's gone back down to from 98 before, went down to touch I think 96 something, 96.9, and then now come back 98. That volatility for the last couple of weeks has been quite huge for me anyway. So here's basically, okay, back to my update. So here a couple of things. Let's just go through the list. Apple, as before, is just continued to buy across the board. Amazon is short term is buy, medium and long term is still neutral. That's no change from last week. Australian dollar, Aussie dollar against US dollars, again, short and medium term is a buy, and neutral long term. So not much changes over there. Crude oil and Brent crude, basically short term they both buy, but in basically in the medium term also both are neutral, standard side. But long term, now both Brent crude and US crude oil are neutral now. Instead last week the US crude is or WTI or something is on a sale. sell signal, but this week's been gone down to neutral. So this is why I'm saying about the fact that American wants to, American government wants to stay in Syria and protect the oil. I mean, the oil price might fluctuate with, but it's not. It's just basically going sideways. And the next is stacks, just like Apple's, just continue going up, and also Dow Jones, as I said before, just American index seems to just continue to go up. FTSE, on the other hand, is very much short term, and long term is a buy, and medium term is neutral. Next is gold. Gold, short term is a sell, and long term is changed from buy to neutral. Now the system 2, the medium term, which the total trading system 2 is telling us, giving a sell signal this week, basically after the recent driving on Thursday, is now sell at a sell. First sell signal is at 1466, around that area. So basically gold is actually on sell mode now in medium term. Next is Hang Seng Index, and that has been short term, medium term is buy, long term is neutral. Now the funny thing here is this around the world, all the indices is going up, and so is Nikkei, it's going up quite a lot. But what we have seen that the long-term system, 50 days over 22 days moving average, the price have tried to break above it, try to stay above it for a couple of days, but then it failed and come back down again. Now, providing the price has not stay above it, not stay above the 200-day, 50-day moving average, that is a major sell signal here, because it's a failure to break above the long-term resistance, so to speak, this 50-day, 200 days, basically 200 days moving average line. So better watch out on this one. But on the trend following total system 2 system, is basically given to buy signals during the week already. So there is we don't know what might happen there. So if the price index follow Hong Kong index follow what the American does, it will just continue to go up. So from my trading point of view, this is another thing to come is there might be conflicting signals from different systems, okay, even on the same indexes or shares or forex, but you basically here you trade those systems because it has a positive edge. And for me, the reason why I have 3 systems here is to get the average of the 3, because sometimes long term catch more, or a long-term system, or a long-term win. Short-term, just a short-term wins as well. So I try to get the average of the cross of the overall. So to handle these 3 systems, I basically just I just trade the signal as it is. I have 3 separate accounts for 3 of these signals, even though, let's say for Hong Kong index, I have 3 different accounts with the same broker, but they all trading different strategies, and I basically keep eye on that. So on this one at the moment is a bit of conflicting. So the medium term for Hong Kong index is up, long term is neutral. It possibly a failure as well, so watch out that 230 moving average, and short term is continued buying. Nasdaq across the board as usual, like Dow Jones is buy across the board, Nikkei similarly or buy across the board. Silver now is a slight change now, like gold there's some sort of movement, and in the short term it is changed to sell, neutral for both long term and medium term at the moment. Chinese yuan, that's another thing, has been selling for quite some time, more or less for last week. Basically short term has been selling a month or 2 now, isn't it? And then the medium term has been turned to sell as well. So it's continued to come down. Long term is still neutral, but on the sell side, this is another thing that on the medium term, the total system basically give quite I think 3 sell signal this week if you use pyramid. Basically you just basically stack it up, and basically that's another thing here to not to talk about here. Don't worry too much about win rate. Okay, there's a lot of systems out there say, okay, I win 90% of the time. What you need to understand is all this win rate mean nothing if you win a little sweet every time and you lose a big call, so to speak. Okay, in Asia, in Hong Kong, people talk about you win mosquito bite. Okay, or like drinking blood like a mosquito. Take some, but when you lose like an elephant, basically a big dump of poo or pow. Okay, this is just how some Hong Kong people are saying it. So essentially, basically, is what I say is this: when you win very little. But when you lose big. So what's the point if you have a high win rate? You win every time it's $100, but then when you lose, it's $1,000. So the win rate is pointless. Okay. Now as part of trend following, you try to how to make your win rate win more when you win. It's basically this: you use pyramiding, which talked about in Michael Koval Computer Trader books. If you look at chapter 5 or 6, just go and look at them. And that is not often talked about. A lot of people talk about, hey, I bought this and looks how fantastic it's gone up. But as a trend, especially a trend for you're riding a trend to make big money, you add more to the as the trend's going in your favor. Okay, so instead of average down, it's the fundamental traders use. If a share have a good fundamental, even though price go down, you buy some more average down. On trend following, we do it on the reverse. We average up. So when the price is moving up, we continue to buy. Also on the reverse, if the price continues on coming down, we continue to sell. Similar to Twitter. I've been selling Twitter for quite a while. The price continue to go down, and I just continue to sell. Okay? And so I also recommend you go and read Michael Koval's book on Computer Trader, chapter 6 or 5. Just go and read, which give you all the details in there. Okay, so Chinese yuan against US dollar against Chinese yuan continue to sell. Japanese yen, that's another thing now. All the short, medium, and long term are now turned to buy. Now the medium term have given signals last week as well as this week to become a buy, but now long term as well is gone up buy because the price has gone above 200 days moving average. Now, so long as stay above it, okay, don't do what the Hong Kong index is doing, failing to hold above 200 moving average. Then I think that there's legs to continue to move up. It's just very similar to what British pound against the USD and Japanese yen have done, also what Tesla have done. It stay above the 200 moving average. So long as stay above that line, there's a potential growth over there. Sometimes could be explosive, just like Tesla. And so is British pound. So watch out. So as far as I'm concerned, Japanese yen now, basically, I will US dollar against Japanese yen. I would just buy. It would just probably so long as stay above the 109 area. I'm a buyer. Then the next on the list is basically British pounds against the Japanese yen and against the US dollar. Continue is a buy. So this episode, okay, I ranted a little bit about the emotion side of the trading and how you handle it. Also now, there's also some changes. I think there's some things happening here now. I mean, things might not adding on the forex side slightly, and also on the Hong Kong index side. So watch out. I think that there's quite a main point here is the US dollar against the Chinese dollar. Yuan is continuing going down. The US dollar against Japanese yen has a possibility of continue to move up, so watch out for that. Hong Kong index has a possible failure, so watch out. Okay, Hong Kong index, and basically crude oil is going sideways, not doing much. Okay, so this basically is this week's update. So I hope you found this useful. And the other thing I found so far this week is a lot of times, because when I do this update, basically I see a lot of signals coming out during the week, and obviously I only do an update as a sample, as an example how trend following works in a sample trade. But I think it'd be much more valuable if I also give you the update during the week, and I see a particular signal coming out from my daily tracking of the market. So what I will do is I probably will put it up on Facebook, and I'll also maybe onto the Twitter as well, just a little update, so you can go and read the Facebook page to see what a bit more details information, and I back it up with the during the week end of the week updates, Cosmic. So do go and check my Facebook from time to time, which is also in the description of this particular episode and all the other episodes. So Facebook and Twitter. So watch out for next. I think next week I'll try to do that and see how you guys like it. And if you do go onto Facebook and Twitter, leave me a comment and tell me what other things you want me to do or you like or dislike what I don't so far. So I'll speak to you next week.